What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So I want to get into this. I want to break down the Houston Texans 2019 preview. Texans started off the season last year with a 28-30 loss on Monday Night Football at the hands of Drew Brees and New Orleans Saints. And week 2, they held Leonard Fournette just shy on that 2-point conversion. When I went back and watched that game, I think Fournette actually might have got in there, as much as Texans fans don't want to hear that. It was one of those where they just kind of went with the call on the field because it was just so close. But from one angle, it looked like he might have just broke the plane of the goal line, but I don't know. It was like super close to hard to tell. But they ended up finishing the regular season 11-5. They won that crazy wild card game against Buffalo where Deshaun Watson just popped out of the hit from those two defenders. Just an incredible play. I mean, that really just showed how elite Deshaun Watson was. That play where he's just somehow able to escape the sack. Like that's just the stuff that Deshaun Watson does. It just makes you shake your head and just go, man, that dude is the real deal. I mean, obviously, Deshaun Watson, an elite quarterback in the NFL, but. In the divisional, they blew the 24-0 lead against the Chiefs. They had the stupid fake punt that didn't make any sense. Sorensen from the Chiefs came up and just made that sure tackle on who was it? Was it Justin? I think it was Justin Reed that was the runner on the fake punt. But the big news for the Texans fans just do not want to hear this is no more DeAndre Hopkins. And with the trade, they acquired Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, kind of a forgotten wide receiver a little bit, had some pretty good years with New Orleans, good years in Los Angeles. But, not as great of a season last year, not as productive, especially in the touchdown department. But Cooks had high praise for Deshaun Watson. I think they could have quite the connection. I mean, you got a couple speedsters now. You got two guys that run in the 4.3s in Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. You got Kenny Stills, who's a 4.3 guy. Kenny Stills, I think, is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He almost single-handedly won him that Titans game because he is a matchup nightmare because in the NFL, a lot of guys that play corner in the slot aren't the fastest guys. I mean, let's be honest. They're guys that are fighting to get that spot. They're not fast enough to play on the outside, so you got to move them to the inside. They created that mismatch with Kenny Stills, and they just burnt that Titans corner to the outside. I mean, and then one of the plays was Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan just couldn't cover him for so long. I mean, you can't cover a guy that runs 4.3 forever. I mean, let's be real. And got Kenny Stills. Those two touchdowns were critical, and it was enough to beat the Titans the first game. And then they ended up beating the Titans the second game. I think the second time they played was week 17. They ended up 2-0 against the Titans, and that was crucial for them getting in the playoffs. But so unfortunately, it came up short to the Chiefs in the divisional, in a game that they had a big lead, and then all the momentum just shifted. It showed just how quick strike of an offense that Chiefs offense is with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they just score like that. Travis Kelce, a couple touchdowns that really got that team rolling, and that was it. But, I like the wide receiver core for the Texans this year. Should be one of the best in the National Football League. You got Darren Fells, who's a reliable tight end. He's a guy that, had some pretty crucial catches. He's, a lot more athletic than people seem to claim. He made one catch, I think it was against Oakland in the end zone, made like an incredible adjustment. He's just one of those guys that, I love a sure-handed tight end. There is nothing better than having a sure tight end on your roster. Deshaun Watson likes it because he's a guy that, really likes to improvise, whether it's with his legs and just making a play and getting that extra check down to keep the drive alive. But no DeAndre Hopkins is going to hurt. That's huge for Arizona. Hopkins was kind of like that go-to guy Hopkins found a way to get open on, some of those longer routes, created some bigger plays. But, this could be a, boom or bust offense. There could be some drives. You get some big plays because Will Fuller, as much as I like him, he's kind of almost like a one-trick pony and is, just about only runs go routes. You need to kind of expand his horizon. Cooks is a little more versatile than that, but he's kind of a big play receiver as well. So, but the offensive line hopefully will be improved a little bit. That's been, obviously the struggle for the Texans for several years now. You got to keep Deshaun Watson upright, but it's kind of like the Russell Wilson situation, Aaron Rodgers situation. When you have a good quarterback, you kind of tend to not really spend as much, elsewhere because, your quarterback covers up a lot of, other areas that are lacking. So, but on the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot of familiar names. J.J. Watt hopes to stay healthy, was healthy for all of the 2018 season, and you really saw what he was capable of. But just 8 games last year, 4 sacks total. I think he had 4 tackles for loss. But I mean, the games I watched him play, but went back and watched the tape. He just, didn't really look like himself. He was just kind of missing. Looked like he was missing almost a step. There was plays that he was, just shy of getting the quarterback just out of reach of potentially getting that ball and getting that sack. But Whitney Merciless, huge interception against the Titans. It took it back, 85, 90 yards. Shows Merciless isn't the fastest guy because they ended up catching him. Jonnu Smith came down the sidelines and ran him down, but it just shows that, Whitney Merciless is another underrated linebacker. You got Zach Cunningham, Bernard McKinney. This is actually low-key a pretty strong linebacking core for the Texans. But Zach Cunningham led in tackles, a former Vanderbilt Commodore. I believe, was Cunningham? I think he was either a second or first round pick, I believe. But, a guy that had a lot of hype coming out, and he's really lived up to that hype. You got Justin Reed led in interceptions, one of the best young safeties in the National Football League, still only 22, 23 years old. And, Reed just makes plays. He's a big hitter, kind of brings an attitude to that defense. This is a Texas defense, that needs to improve in the secondary. They have some issues. Bradley Roby's a guy that was that number 3 corner behind Chris Harris and Aqib Talib for years in Denver, and he's been very solid. But they brought in, some guys that were highly touted in college that just haven't been great in the NFL, and Vernon Hargraves and Gary and Conley. And they've been okay, but they just want to keep improving at the cornerback position. They're going to try to just, keep improving there, getting better. But, it makes you wonder if Hargraves and Gary Conley have kind of maxed out their potential. But, hopefully their secondary keeps improving. This is a defense that was, pretty solid, was vulnerable at times, but, it's good enough. I think it's good enough to win a championship. I think the Texans, I forgot to mention David Johnson. They get it running back in the trade if he's healthy. If you get 2016 David Johnson, this could be potentially pretty big because Carlos Hyde, I wasn't a big fan of Carlos Hyde, but this Bill O'Brien offense is kind of, suited for the running back because they loved it looked like the inside zones, the offset gun, where you just give the running back the ball inside. But, Carlos Hyde is a guy that tried to bounce everything to the outside. It just didn't really work. He's not super fast, somewhat physical player. But, David Johnson's a guy that could bounce those to the outside. And he's a guy that, is also capable of being physical. And I think he's a more talented player than Carlos Hyde. So if he stays healthy, this could potentially be a big year for David Johnson, and that rushing game is just going to create the play action and chances for them to go deep with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller and Kenny Stills. 3 guys that run in the 4-3 range. I think, that's I think there's a formula here. It's not always you kind of people would say you're taking a step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, trading DeAndre Hopkins, but there could be something here with the Texans. This is a team that you can't count out of it. They're always in the mix. It's a 10-win, 11-win team. I'm not going to make any predictions now, but we'll see what happens with the Houston Texans. But this is a team to watch out for. It's they're going to be competitive and likely a team that has a great shot of winning the AFC South. So. Thanks for tuning in to Big Time Football Talk. Stay tuned for more clips from the show. Until next time, peace.